All right, welcome back. So the title of this mini lecture is The American Civil War till 1863. There is a lot of work that has been done on the American Civil War. So we're going to, again, just talk about 5 things to think about as you go to learn more about this topic. If you're interested in reading more or learning more, James McPherson's Battle Cry of Freedom is a good basic survey to get you started. If you're looking for something new, something interesting, Dr. Megan Kate Nelson's new book, The Three-Cornered War, is a really great look at the American West during a lot of this conflict from a lot of perspectives, so check them out. All right, let's get into this. First off, Battle of Bull Run. So it's known by a couple of different names, but basically U.S. forces engaged with Confederate forces in the summer of 1861. Lincoln is prodded by the press to not let the Confederate legislature meet. The army is sent out under the command of General Irwin McDowell, and they don't acquit themselves very well. Many of them drop their guns and run, pell-mell back to Washington, and the battle really has a lot of implications for the military to come in terms of how it's organized, in terms of the defense of Washington, and the role that Congress is going to have overseeing the army. Secondly, George McClellan. So the commanders of U.S. forces during the war, you tend to have this sort of college of generals, and perhaps one of the most noted of these individuals is going to be a guy named George B. McClellan. McClellan comes to the forefront partly because of his efforts in West Virginia in early 1861, and he's elevated to command of the Army of the Potomac, which is this big army in and around Washington, D.C., that is being built up in the summer and late fall of 1861 and into 1862, and will eventually move against the Confederates in Virginia, again in the summer of 1862. McClellan was fairly effective at organizing this force, at building up a relatively modern army, but he is someone who was skittish to act, was relying on some intelligence from a guy named Alan Pinkerton that may have been the best, and he's someone who, certainly very much so did not lack for ego, but did lack in terms of ability at being a combat commander. All right. Third, Donelson and Henry. Donelson and Henry. So the war is not just fought in the East, it is fought in the Midwest, it is fought across the South, it is fought in the West, and beginning in early 1862, General Ulysses S. Grant's forces, operating out of Cairo, Illinois, captured Forts Donelson and Henry near the Tennessee River. Now, in the immediacy, this isn't perhaps that significant, but it would have implications certainly for the city of Chicago, because many of the individuals captured there would be sent up and put into a prison camp on the south side of the city. And part of this is setting up the campaigns for the eventual capture of the city of Vicksburg by 1863. The United States wants to retake the Mississippi River, and so to do so, they have to capture these forts and citadels along the river, and Forts Donelson and Henry are going to help them do that. Donelson and Henry predate the Battle of Shiloh, which happens in April of 1862. All right. Fourthly, Peninsula. All right, so the Peninsula Campaign happens in the summer of 1862. General McClellan is finally going to move his army into action against the Confederates in Virginia. They're going to move quite slowly, and eventually the Peninsula Campaign is going to fail, and eventually McClellan is going to be replaced. Much of this was, again, a real clear sign of McClellan's inability as far as combat command is concerned. All right. Fifth, Antietam and Fredericksburg. Two of the biggest conflicts in the American Civil War are fought in 1862. The Battle of Antietam is fought in September, and it's the bloodiest day in American history, more so than Pearl Harbor or 9/11. And it has political implications because it's after that Lincoln's going to want to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Battle of Fredericksburg is fought in December of 1862, and it really is a bloodbath for the U.S. Army. It really kind of highlighted Lee's ability at building fortifications. It highlighted the Confederate ability in combat, and was a real terrible defeat for U.S. forces during the American Civil War. All right, thank you.